All right guys, in this video, I'm gonna show you how to use all the controls on the 992 911 GT3 RS to give you guys a user guide on how to use this vehicle, because we've seen the reviews on this, we know how it performs. So let's just get straight into it. So I have the keys in my pocket, it's already unlocked. Let's hop inside here and obviously get inside these bucket seats. All right, and then we'll close the door. This one has the Y-Sock package, so you see those carbon fiber door handles, which is really nice. Take your left hand here, turn the ignition. Start it up. You guys should know this if you're familiar with the world of Porsches, but the steering wheel has a lot to it, and we're going to break it down as simply as possible. So to engage any of these buttons, guys, the first thing you want to do is be in track mode. So right now we're in normal mode. We want to go one toggle to sport and then another toggle into track, and now these buttons are enabled. And the first one here is PASM, which is Porsche Active Suspension Management. You guys know Porsche world, you know that's what it stands for. You press that button, and then let me just exit out of this here, and you get these 4 different controls on the screen correlating to 4 of these knobs. So these now turn into your PASM adjustments. The left hand side is your front and rear compression settings, and then the right hand side is your front and rear rebounds. And you have up to 4 adjustments in the negative direction and then in the positive, depending on your preferences. And that's super cool. You just press it again to exit out of it, and because right below that is PTV Plus. You press that, and this adjusts your locking. For your locking limited slip differential, how locked you want it. You can adjust those. You have 4 different stages similarly in the positive and negative directions. Press it again, and you exit out of it. The last one is ESC and TC, so electronic stability control and traction control. You press that, and then you enable that menu. These don't do anything for this mode. You see those are grayed out, but here's how you adjust that. You can have ESC on, you can have it in dynamic mode, and then you can have it completely off. But you notice as you go to each of these settings, you have different limitations for your TC, your traction control. You can have it on, you can have it 7, 6, 5, or just on depending on how aggressive you want it to be engaged. If I go into dynamic mode, I can turn it down a bit from 3 to 2, but if I turn it off, then I can go to 1 and then to 0. So you can have ESC and TC completely off, if that makes sense, because you are limited depending on your ESC on how disabled TC is. So hope that makes sense. It's pretty interesting to actually play with that and figure that out. But again, depends on how crazy you want to go with this. You have that flexibility, which is really cool. Now, other buttons on the steering wheel are namely DRS. You get a Porsche GT3 RS, I feel like, because you really care about DRS and all the aero engineering that went into this vehicle. You do have to be driving for you to engage this on a straightaway. So if you press it right now, if I exit out of this, it'll say DRS not ready. That's because I'm not driving. You have to be going, I want to say around like 15 plus miles per hour, and you can have it be ready, and then press it, and then it'll basically take your airfoil, the adjustable wing portion, and make that go flat. I'll overlay shots for you guys, and then it'll say ready when it show green, and then you press it and it'll be like active and stuff like that. So you get positive feedback through the screen on your wing, because you won't be able to see the wing unless you're honestly looking back and pretty high up. You'll be able to see it, but I'll show you more about the wing in just a second. You do have your magnetic paddle shifters on this one. This one is a Y-Sock package, so if you're considering the spec, that's some information for you guys. Buttons for your stopwatch control, your sport chrono package, which is pretty cool. You do also have a lot of nice gauges here, which is really great. You can kind of look through those, but nothing really crazy per se. That's not on like other Porsches. For example, as far as your center gauge cluster, I mean, we can't ignore a 9,000 RPM rev limiter on the tachometer. So that's pretty much all the controls on the steering wheel, I mean, except for your horn, in case you're curious how that sounds. But over here you have some additional controls. This one does have the optional front axle lift, so you can press that to engage it. And once you press that, you actually have the option to save this location. So it should give you the opportunity right here to save, cancel, deactivate. You can save it, and every time you get to this destination, it'll lift it here, which is really cool. We'll go ahead and lower it. We're in track mode, so your PDCC, so Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control, which is basically your active roll stabilization button. You can have that in track mode, which is what we're in. But let's say if I'm in sport mode, let's get out of this here. Oops, press that again, and then we will go into sport or even normal mode. It'll be disabled, but I can turn it on, and you basically get a lot flatter cornering. You notice a difference with that on versus off, regardless of what mode you're in, but in track, it automatically turns it off. hazards, we know that. You do have individual toggles for ESC off completely and ESC and TC off completely. So if you do want to have just quick access to those, instead of getting into the settings or having to be in track mode, you do have that opportunity over there, which is cool. But there's even more controls, because if I go here on the screen, I go to vehicles, because let's say you do want to show people your DRS while the car is not driving, right? Because honestly, unless someone's looking back there while you're driving, you're not going to notice it. A cool thing is on the touchscreen, you have some settings here. So you can turn on and off your sport exhaust, that's cool. And then you have aerodynamics right here. So you go low downforce, which is what we're in. So the airflow is gonna be flat to give you low drag. Oops, excuse me. And then you have dynamic downforce, and that'll give you the extended spoiler. So if I tap that, you see your spoiler raises on the graphic here, but it also physically raises. I'll overlay shots of that. And it looks really cool. You just have to tap, retract it to confirm. And once it's confirmed, you click OK, and then you move on. Now, when I do engage the dynamic spoiler option, you'll notice over here, it'll say active aerodynamics dynamic downforce. And then on top of that, you'll still get the DRS if not ready, because I'm not driving right now. So that will show ready when you do start driving. So I'm gonna have it here so we don't get too much drag, because I'm not on a track right now. But it is cool that they let you adjust that while the car is static. So you can physically see it, let's say if your car's parked, and you know, get to show that feature. It's kind of gimmicky in that capacity, but hey, if you have a GT3RS, you could do with it whatever you want. So aside from that, we talked steering wheel controls, we talked the center controls down here, we talked vehicle controls on the touchscreen, but aside from that, guys, it is standard Porsche 911 stuff, which is really great. So you still have AC controls over here, dual zone with your fan speed and your temperatures. You also have your AC max, volume knob, track and seek buttons right here. You can remove the cup holder, guys, so if you want to do that, save some additional weight on top of what the engineers did to this vehicle, you can have that outside the vehicle. But you still have this cup holder here. It is covered in race text, which is super cool. Your glove box does not have much additional space, guys, so keep that in mind. They had to put the owner manual right in that pocket, so not much storage space, guys. I had to put my backpack on my seat, or I had to toss it in the back over here. This is US spec, so you aren't able to get the roll cage, so keep that in mind.